everybody. Welcome to another episode of What a Hell of a Way to Die. It's Francis and Nate. Nate is back with us. Nate's been bouncing all over the place, man. I've been wanting to do a dad chat with you, Nate, because I want to get your experience of being an American who moved to England, who came back to America. And all the trappings, all the places that you know, New York City and the Midwest. So culture shock, what was that like coming back home?
Yeah, I mean, so just to clarify, I haven't moved back to America, but because of my dad has Parkinson's and my mom kind of just needs some help with some stuff. So I came back to visit. I just went solo because Cynthia didn't have, any vacation days to take off work. So I went back to Bedford, Indiana, where my parents live. And I flew back. Basically, I flew London, Gatwick to New York, JFK, and then spent the night at a buddy's place, and then got up the next morning, went to LaGuardia, and flew to Indianapolis. My mom picked me up, or my mom and dad were there. They drove me back down to Bedford. Most time I was in Bedford, I spent with them. Went out to a ridiculous sort of Country Joe slot bucket style restaurant at the Courthouse Square, because Bedford is the county seat of Lawrence County. So although it's only like 14,000 people in Bedford, it's the biggest town in the county. And then honestly, other than going to the grocery store with my mom, mostly hung out on the farm. My grandma's car, my parents have my grandma's old car. It's like an old Toyota, or like 15-year-old Toyota. So I would drive that there's a trailhead where they took out an old commercial railway and did a rails to trails thing. Your classic Midwest thing. Like, there used to be a hint of transit, and now there's none, but we have at least put a little running trail in for you.
We put down some gravel. Would you like to ride a bike on it now?
Yeah, exactly.
Please don't pay attention to people in the woods who are going to attack you.
Yeah, or the big highway overpasses where high school boys have drawn huge cock and balls spurting blood. I got some photos of those, which are very, very funny. I was just like, damn, y'all, one of y'all looks like you got a disease. If that's what it looks like in real life, y'all got problems. Is
it squirting blood, or did they only have red spray paint?
No, it was like a black cock and balls with red spray paint coming out of the dickhead. So it was like fully like, I don't know, is it shooting fire? Like, your mind goes to blood, because blood can come out of your dick, but fire can't.
The leaps and bounds that Generation Z is making in cock and ball drawing is incredible. Like, for us, it's just like, okay, you draw the cock, you draw the balls. If you got somebody who's like really dedicated, or they're taking a really long shit, they'll put some veins and some curly hairs on it or something like that. But like, nowadays it's like you see a cock and balls, and it's like shooting lightning and shit, like it's Thor or something.
Well, like I said, they've gotten way into the little like lightning fucking emoji to make a point on Instagram. So now they draw it when they draw cock and balls as well. I don't know. I mean, like, I wouldn't necessarily think that Bedford, Indiana, is indicative of big generational trends. So in that regard, I just I was home, saw it, went running a bunch. Weather was perfect. Indiana is nothing's different. I mean, okay, it is different. There's way more fucking Trump shit, American flags, anti-CRT school board bullshit, fucking stand for the cross, kneel for the flag, unironically. Or no, I have that backwards. Stand for the flag, kneel for the cross, bullshit all over people's cars. Huge fucking trucks everywhere. Like, the roads out near where my parents live are big, certainly big by European standards, but I would say even big by American standards. They just don't have shoulders because it's like a country road. And, fuck, dude, some of those big ass pickup trucks, even driving I was driving a Toyota Avalon, like a small sedan, like it's like a full size sedan. In Europe, it would be a pretty big car, but like it's not a big car by American standards. It probably was in 07, quite frankly. It was like a full size sedan, but now it seems tiny. But these like fucking big Ram, or the Ford F-250s, stuff like that, even the F-150s, like they're just gigantic now. And so everywhere you go, you're sort of like, what the fuck are y'all driving this shit for? But yeah, whatever, man. Like, it's just...
Yeah, there's somebody who's parked a mid-aughts Ford Ranger in front of my house, and I just like covet the fuck out of it, because...
Little truck?
Here's the thing, even the small trucks, even like, well, Ford Ranger isn't a thing anymore, but people are like, oh, well, the Ford Frontier is a small truck. And I've seen a Ford Frontier in person, and it's not a fucking small truck. Like, it is the smaller option of the truck, but it's not a small truck. Like, it's not a S10, it's not a Tacoma or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I had a 2006 Ford Ranger when I lived in Alaska. Single cab, manual transmission, crank windows, like 3-seater, full-size bed, could haul whatever the fuck, four-wheel drive. It was selector, so four-wheel, like front wheel, rear wheel, and four-wheel drive. Just beautiful, fucking great. Didn't have air conditioning, which you didn't really need in Anchorage. And so the reason I sold it was that for the amount of money it was going to cost to get air conditioning installed in that truck, I think they wanted like at least $5,000 for the unit plus the installation fee. And it was just like, that's not like that's not that much more. I wound up selling it for like $10,000. I think I bought it for 13 and I sold it for like 10.5 or 11 because like those things were in demand up there.
That's just a truck. Yeah, that's just a truck that exists in Alaska.
I think it had formerly been like a government service vehicle or something. But when I bought it, it only had like 5,000 miles on it. And it was really funny because I got it from the dealership and they had detailed it, but they'd forgotten there was a second like ashtray coin compartment. So I opened it up and it was fucking full of cigarettes, just like literally so full of cigarettes. It's like you'd made a brick out of cigarette butts. And I was just like, hey guys, at the dealership, I'm like, I found a bunch of fucking cigarette butts in this thing. Like, I guess one of y'all detailers forgot this. And they were like, when they saw it, they were like, oh my God, we're so sorry. They gave it a full wash and wax and clean up and filled up the tank with gas and stuff. And I was just like, all right, guys, like, I was just asking y'all to vacuum it out, but whatever.
Yeah, can you just shove a vacuum hose in there? You don't gotta get too crazy.
They were so embarrassed.
I don't want to do it.
But yeah, it was a small truck. I mean, like, and had air conditioning. I mean, honestly, the single cab made it pretty annoying because you can only really have one passenger. Like when I did this thing, I got voluntold to do this thing to be like a mentor at this youth military academy that was like on Fort Richardson. And I wound up getting paired up with two 16-year-old kids. I think I've told them the story before. One was like a kid from Colorado who had fucked up real bad with like just doing dumb shit. And he was a good kid. He just like had no guidance in life. And the other one was a kid, like his came from a stable family, but it just had been like really lazy in his first 2 years of high school. But if he did this youth military academy bullshit, he could graduate on time with his peers. And so he's just like, fuck it, I'll just do it. He was from Fairbanks. And so I had slacker 16-year-old and I had like tweaker 16-year-old. And then it was just me, Second Lieutenant Bethea.
Who kind of embodies both of those.
And I was able to fit those two kids in so that the three of us could drive in that truck. Like they got to do a community service thing, and then once we did community service, they could like have some time off. They had like an 8-hour pass. So I took them. I was volunteering at this bike co-op, and we went down there, got the keys, took everything out, cleaned everything, scrubbed the floors, and then once that was all put back together, I was like, all right, we did some community service. Let's go see fucking Pineapple Express in theaters. Just like super weed movie for my idiot 16-year-olds. But no, that was the only time you could have more than one passenger in that car was to have like a 130-pound 16-year-old, in between the two, in between two more, like I was probably 175, like 180 maybe. I mean, I was pretty thin at the time. And my burnout friend there was probably about the same weight, maybe a little shorter than me. So yeah, little trucks, but they were cool. And now now we just have big trucks.
Yeah, the other day I saw somebody driving like a lifted Jeep in my neighborhood. Like I live in a very urban neighborhood, and it was a lifted Jeep, and it had the headlights had like these covers on it to make them look like angry eyes. And just like, why are you bringing this to my neighborhood?
So
why are you bringing your anger to my neighborhood?
I have a funny thing that's become like a kind of mnemonic device, I suppose you could call it. Well, it's not even that. It's become like a joke amongst friends, but it stems from a mnemonic device. When I was in the career course, I couldn't help being back, because back in Georgia, the huge truck phenomenon wasn't necessarily there yet, but like the Dodge Charger phenomenon was there. And obviously trucks were already big. They just weren't like novelty oversized big. They weren't like the cab of a box truck. They weren't like civilian MRAP size yet. And I was driving a diesel Volkswagen Golf, and of course, pretty confident in who I am. You walk in the room in a Volkswagen Golf, and everyone's like, "You are gay. You are a dude who fucks dudes. You are gay. You are married to a man." And this is like, it's just a car. It's got a turbo diesel engine. It's actually like a fucking sick car. This was before the whole emissions cheating scandal. We didn't realize at the time that turbo diesels were fully creating the pollution monster Hexus from Fern Gully. We just thought they were...
I'm going to go ahead and say that the people who would call you gay for owning a Volkswagen don't give a shit about
pollution. Yeah, exactly. They're rolling coal in like a fucking F-350. Roger. I'm tracking.
Yeah, they're calling you gay because you're not putting out enough emissions.
Yeah, I mean, the real gearheads would typically appreciate just like how nuts that engine was, but like most people they're just douchebags. But anyway, one of the things we had to learn in the career course, like you just have to learn a lot of sort of doctrinal stuff and memorize a lot of doctrinal stuff and get tested on it. And it'll just be like, you know, you'll get like a 20 question or a 30 question, or maybe a 50 question test. And it'll have lots of things about like, what is, you know, one fucking, you know, military principles of the offensive or some I'm making that up. I don't even know if that's like a category. But one I do remember is like, you know, it'd be like doctrinal stuff, tactical stuff, like stuff straight out of Clausewitz, but then also like certain things the Army had come up with. And one of them was, what are the military aspects of weather? Do you remember these, Francis? Did you ever learn these?
The military aspects of weather?
What are when you talk about weather in a military context, what are the considerations of weather? It's an acronym that stands for a couple of things.
Okay, I don't know anything official.
So it's VWPCT is the acronym, and it's visibility, wind, precipitation, cloud cover, and temperature. So those are things you just have to remember. Like when you think about how is the weather going to affect a mission, those are the military aspects of weather.
Right.
Roger. Okay. So to teach myself that, I came up with the acronym. I was like, well, VWPCT, what am I going to do to make myself remember this? And then it came to me as I was driving home from seminar one day. You know, this is just one of the multiple things, but I was just coming up with a thing to study with. And I looked at my car and I said, Volkswagen, pussy car, trucks. And so that expression, trucks, like that, it has to be said that way, became a joke amongst my friends. And now it's a joke amongst my friends and their wives. So I saw my friends in DC. What up, guys, if you're listening? And amazingly, you know, 11 years later, that number one, that joke was still very, very, you know, understood amongst all of us. And number two, that's probably one of the only doctrinal things that I fully memorized, in the sense that, like, not only do I know the acronym, but I actually know what it's supposed to mean. The rest of that shit from the career course just went in one ear and out the other. Yeah,
I mean, if you're not using it on a regular basis. However, if you are constantly repeating to yourself Volkswagen pussy car.
Right. Or when I was driving to and from the trailhead in Bedford, and every time I saw this fucking thing that looked like a goddamn Winnebago, except like it wanted to do war crimes, I just go, trucks! And I just kept doing that over. Like, people probably thought I was having a fucking stroke in the car, because everyone's just, trucks! But like, if you're going to drive a truck, drive a fucking truck. But like, you don't, that's like a Toyota, no, it's not even a Toyota minivan. It's like less interior space than that Volkswagen Golf that everybody was calling gay, except it's like, it needs to have a front-facing camera, like a reversing camera, you know, at all times, because you literally can't see in front of you. Like, that shit, and just the fucking flags everywhere. God damn, I feel like British people love flags too. Swiss people fucking love flags, but nothing like that shit down there. My God, it was just like, yep, it's America. We're back in America.
Yeah, I often forget, like, we didn't do too much. We didn't do as much road trip traveling as I wanted to this year. Especially, we didn't get down to Branson. We usually try to get to Branson, Missouri, at least once a year or so. And I forget that, like, rural, like, you know, I live in a very liberal area of Missouri. You know, St. Louis City. It's a very diverse neighborhood that I live in, both, you know, racially and economically.
Yeah, isn't Cori Bush your representative?
Yeah, Cori Bush. Yeah, so like, this is a really nice small pocket of some great shit here
in easily the most psychotic red state in America by an order of magnitude.
And I love, like, I don't shit talk Missourians because I love Missourians because they are me. I love the history. I love the Ozarks. I love the plains up north. I love fucking ranching Missouri. I love that we have the fucking Precious Moments Chapel in Missouri. I love this incredibly fucked up state. And it is very difficult sometimes to go out and just, like, I just, like, when I go out into rural Missouri, I want to do the thing. It's like, all right, everybody, let's just not talk about politics here. Let's just all just be 5-minute friends. We interact with each other for 5 minutes and we don't bring anything up. And I don't have any of that. I don't have any bullshit on my car about, like, you know, Bernie or bumper stickers or anything like that. I don't I don't do any of that shit because none of that stuff is
kneel for the flag when I suck a hero cop's dick or something like that. Yeah, like,
I don't. Yeah, and I don't, or even just, you know, even just your regular, like, Ranger up, you know, any nonsense.
I had a bumper sticker on my car when I was in high school. I put, like, a Radiohead sticker on my car because I was a fucking nerd. But, like, that was also when I was 16. That's the only bumper sticker I think I ever had, was that Radiohead sticker. Other than that, quite frankly, never. I just didn't do it because, like, I don't really want people to talk to me about shit. Is that so wrong?
I'm gonna say that one of the best places in Missouri that I found so far is this place called Uranus, Missouri, which is outside of right outside of Fort Leonard Wood. Because last time we were there, and it's like it's very rural, and it's right outside of a military base. Of course, everything's going to be like uncomfortably fucking political here, but like it was, but also for both sides. So like it's all the done. And this was before Let's Go Brandon, all that shit. So I don't know what it's like there now. I'm talking. Before I haven't been there since Biden was elected, so I don't fucking know how things are down there now. But at the time, it was at least, let's shit talk every, politician rather than just throw ourselves in behind one. So it's like, the idea of I'm an equal opportunity hater, fine, whatever. As long as you're shit talking everybody, I don't care.
I can genuinely imagine the citizens of Branson, Missouri losing their minds so much that they changed the name of the town to Brandon, Missouri just to own the libs. Like genuinely, that's the kind of thing
Let's go Brandon,
that's
Missouri.
The kind of thing that Missourians would do. Like Indiana is insane, but the thing about Indiana is that like there's less of a difference between urban and rural because there's only one really noteworthy city, and it's not even a real city in the first place. Well, that is Indianapolis. You've lived in Indianapolis. You know what I mean. I think St. Louis looms larger in the imagination of psychos in Missouri than Indianapolis does in the imagination of regular Hoosiers out in the countryside, because Indianapolis is a fake city.
There's really not, like, at least St. Louis is like, we're a French town, we're a French trading town. What exactly was Indianapolis before it was?
It was actually called, I believe it was originally called Straw Town. And it is Indianapolis. The reason why it has any significance whatsoever is because there was a natural gas boom in the end of the 19th century. And also Indianapolis was just like at the confluence of a bunch of different transit links. So like roads to and from Chicago, to and from Cincinnati, to and from Cleveland, like coming off the Great Lakes. There were a bunch of canals. The state actually bankrupted itself building canals in the early part of the 19th century. The railroads came through there.
Indianapolis is a glorified pit stop.
Indianapolis fully Indiana embraces it. That calls itself the Crossroads of America. That was the motto on our license plates before it became fucking In God We Trust everywhere. Like, because that's another thing too. Like the God shit's everywhere, and I forgot about that stuff in Indiana because I just haven't seen it in so long. Like the Get Jacked for Jesus gym. It was weird driving down State Road 67 and seeing like Delta 8 weed shops, gun shops, CBD shops, and then lots and lots and lots of anti-abortion posters and stuff like that. And weird Jesus shit.
It is a weird, like the anti-abortion right next to a hey, come and buy marijuana,
right? Or like driving to the interstate, like on I-65, and it's like abortion stops a beating heart next to like butt naked trucker drive-through or whatever the fuck, like
outside of Uranus, Missouri, because Uranus before it was bought up by somebody to turn it into a giant roadside attraction, which I highly recommend because it's all butt jokes, obviously, because Uranus Fudge Factory, the best fudge comes from Uranus, blah blah blah. There used to be, and there still is, a sign that has not been maintained very well, but it was like a girl, like a young girl under the age of 10 who's dressed very prairie, Little House on the Prairie kind of thing, and it just says what did it say? Pornography pollutes the mind, I think. And just because, like, outside of Uranus we used to call it Porn Town because it just used to be like where all the gross strip clubs and pornography places were. Then this guy bought up the whole, because it's like this whole like kind of strip mall that the whole facade of it is kind of an old West Town motif going on. Mm-hmm. So the guy's he bought it up and he's done some really good stuff with it. But it used to just be a seedy place, and there's this. Yeah, porn is bad, but also there's, I've also stopped off at Missouri truck stops.
So basically like Z-grade butt jokes in place of porn shops.
Yes, which the Z-grade butt jokes are at least funnier.
Yeah,
I have been to a Missouri truck stop strip club before, and it was one of the more depressing things I've been to because one of the strippers had a boot. Like one of those, like she broke her ankle boots.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Ugh. Don't stop at a Missouri truck stop strip club on a Tuesday afternoon is the moral here.
Yeah, honestly, don't go to any strip clubs unless you're in Atlanta. Because once you go to the ones in Atlanta, then you know what the apotheosis of strip clubs is supposed to be. And there's plenty of bad ones in Atlanta, but they just take it more seriously there. And then you don't have to go to strip clubs anywhere else in America because it'll just be disappointing and gross.
I don't know, man. East Side St. Louis is, and maybe it's just, that's the only options that we have.
I haven't been to a strip club since I got married. Obviously, like I've been to a strip club. I don't think I've been to a strip club since I got out of the army. But I'm just saying, for forever I love Atlanta, Fila for short. Great place, and there's like breakfast strip clubs. All right, so just Atlanta. Go there if you want to experience strip clubs in America. If you're wondering what all this stuff's all about and why it's like the cornerstone of the rap industry, why everyone talks about it in rap music, just go to Atlanta. Like you'll understand, and then you don't have to go anywhere else. Certainly don't go to the ones in New York. They're terrible.
They're state by state. Like that's why we have to go to Illinois for strip clubs, because in Missouri, like when we went to the truck stop strip club, they could be topless, but you couldn't buy booze there. So you had to go to the gas station that was next door and buy a 6-pack and then bring it over.
My buddy went to one in El Paso, and like the strippers couldn't be naked, and also you couldn't buy alcohol. So basically he put down cash and got given like Monopoly money tokens to buy like Diet Coke and to watch strippers not take their clothes off. And he's just like, what the fuck is wrong with this? Yeah,
that is literally like if somebody was to describe hell to me, that's it. Like I have to go to a strip club I don't want to be at in the first place, but also I can't get drunk.
And invariably, because you're in the army, you're getting shanghaied, and like your friends are taking you to strip clubs, and you don't necessarily want to go, and you certainly don't want to spend a ton of money, or you do want to go, but you also don't want to get really drunk and all these things. So the way El Paso apparently solved this problem in like 2006 or 2007 was to make it the worst experience possible, so no one would ever want to come back. But Francis, you asked me about my experience back in America, and to be honest with you, I think the first thing that I noticed getting back, well, for one, it's hilarious coming back through customs, because like Britain fucking sucks, but Britain and most European countries have automated kiosks. If you're a citizen, you just scan your passport and they let you right through. We definitely do not have that in America. And so like, it was like an hour wait once we got off the plane. Like the reason I booked a flight the next morning was I knew I would be jet lagged and I'd be waking up early anyway. And I was like, I'd rather not take my chances with having my flight missing my flight, because getting back into the US is going to be stupid. Because then I have to recheck my bags. And then, my mom and dad, who are almost 70, being hella late, having to pick me up in the airport, like that's stupid. And at the time, I wasn't 100% sure if I was going to be super comfortable driving. But like once I started driving in America, it was fine. It completely came right back to me. So it was fine.
Just immediately start getting angry and cursing at people.
No,
again.
I mean, I think if you're driving in the daytime and the other cars on the road, it's very, very natural to snap right back to driving on the opposite side of the road. I think if I was driving late at night on like roads with no cars, I might by mistake just absentmindedly go the wrong way. But as far as like driving, it was fine. But I think the biggest thing for me when I got back to New York was everything seemed bigger. Like genuinely everything. Even New York famous for like having stuff be small, but there was a grocery store on the corner of my friend's place. It was bigger than a bodega. It was just like, but it was like a neighborhood grocery store, and it just seemed bigger, and all the shelf space seemed more densely packed. Like the roads are bigger, like the sidewalks are bigger, like the distances between blocks is greater. I did even notice in New York some of the huge trucks as like service vehicles, but obviously in Indiana I saw way more of that. But being back, I mean, some folks, I went down to DC too, so I took the train down, which, yeah, I mean, just saw some new stuff. I'd never been to the Moynihan train hall in Penn Station, so that was a new experience. I don't recall DC Penn Station looking the way that it did the last time I went through, or Union Station rather. So
what online leftist isn't going to have some opinions about some train stations?
Well, the thing about Moynihan is that like it's designed to be this beautiful architectural space that's so insanely hostile to people because they want to keep the homeless out. So it's this beautiful space with nothing in it. There's nowhere to sit. There's no trash cans. There's no power plugs. There's just escalators that are closed off until they call your train. So all you can do is in this beautiful open atrium where they put like a Louvre-style pyramid, in what used to be a huge post office, or like this big like neoclassical looking building. Like it's gorgeous, amazing, and there's nothing inside it unless you can show a ticket and go into like this tiny little Amtrak lounge. But like they had all the space in the world, but they made the lounge tiny as fuck because like the whole point was to have this big grand hall and just to scare off the homeless by making it insanely inhospitable.
Right. Like here's this beautiful thing. Now fuck off.
And what's funny about it is that because of the fact that there are no benches or tables or power ports or people really, because there's literally nowhere to stand and not feel insanely awkward. There's not even a big like time clock up top. It's just ads. So you'd think like, okay, big open area, there would be like a big clock with departures and arrivals. No, there's none. So what winds up happening is you have to wait for them to call your train, or you have to like gather around the small screens that are kind of like posted up. But there's no big clock, which is just so weird because like surely that's the one thing you can say is okay, is to let people stand there looking at the big clock. Nothing. So what happens is because there's no people in there, when they do call your train, it echoes like fuck and you can't hear anything. Like it is such a bizarre example of like hostility to the homeless and making the space inhospitable in general winds up fully defeating all of the improvements that were made in the first place. It's really weird.
We've done it. We've spent millions of dollars and created a space for absolutely nobody.
100%. And it probably,
nobody wants to be here.
Probably more like billions of dollars. And yes, because architecture, like big projects like that in New York tend to cost billions. And yeah, get nothing. And then, dude, DC is so much more gentrified than I remember. Like, I hadn't been back since 2014. I hadn't spent a significant amount of time there since like 2011. And like all of Southeast DC is like the waterfront by Navy Yard is just it's just new condos. All of H Street seems to be about the same. Like, I can remember when H Street was just did not look like that. It's shocking. I mean, DC's my experience is just like a really pleasant place. It's definitely like a geek city for nerds in some ways.
I like DC,
but
it's a good.
I enjoy it.
Shout out to the DC heads with all your fucking Smithsonian.
Real DC people are cool as shit. Nerds with lanyard jobs or transient DC people, maybe not as cool, but actual people from DC are cool as shit. And if you know your way around DC and you know how to avoid the the Raytheon bars and or the networking bars, like it's actually a really fun place to hang out. I've had incredible times in DC. I've always loved spending time there. I found it to be just like a far more fun place to just kind of fuck around in and have a good time than New York, because it's cheaper and just like it's a smaller scale. But yeah, I was really, a lot of the city is unrecognizable to me, just because of how much like new condo development has happened. And I'd say, I don't know, like this isn't the, new urbanist memes for transit oriented teens podcast. But one thing that was surprising to me was in the areas around Navy Yard in Southeast where they've just built these like, block upon block upon block of condos and like, ground floor retail that's all either bars or restaurants with bars or coffee shops that might turn into bars or like yoga studios. It feels really sterile. It feels really inorganic. Is the best way to describe it. Whereas the like row house parts of DC, the older buildings that have been like, those neighborhoods, those are all just cool. They're fun. Like it's your garden variety kind of mid-Atlantic upper South city, and it's on the coast. It's cool. Baltimore looks the exact same. Like I've never spent a significant amount of time in Baltimore other than passing through on the train, but like there's like one or two like things that have been painted over and seem to be like community oriented things. But as you pass by on the train, I was just like, damn, Baltimore looks the same. What else, man? That's about it. I mean, New York is New York. The train still sucks. Feels like it's less populated now, or at least more people are working from home. So it's less like rush hour was less crowded. There's definitely like a sense of, people, I can definitely tell that the cops are sad that their warrior god king lost the election. And so they're throwing a fit by just not doing anything, which is fine, except that like there's more people kind of fucking taking advantage of the situation. Like I don't give a fuck if people jump turnstiles, like fine by me. But
right.
Like smoking in the subway cars or pissing and shitting on the platform, or pissing and shitting in the subway car. Like that was a problem before, but it's more of a problem now. So you can definitely see how like a person sees that once and then decides we need martial law. We have to live in Singapore and we need Trump back. So the cops, will do something, they'll kill the right people and make us feel like the $300,000 a year we spend on them in overtime is worth it. The usual shit, like I said, I mean,
yeah, the St. Louis cops are like our 911 system is like so inherently broken. Like the last time that either my wife and I called 911, we got a message being like, call back later. Like, okay. Thankfully, that's not, and a lot of people are moving out of St. Louis City because like, again, our 911 system sucks. And also our cops suck, but like the cops suck in a way that like works for me because nobody bothers me. So I live in a neighborhood, Holly Hills, and last time we had elections, we had a local election to tax Holly Hills specifically, like our neighborhood, to levy a tax to hire off-duty cops to walk around. here's the thing though, like I don't live in the right side of Holly Hills, so we don't get that. Like there's a bad side of Bates, basically. There's the good side of Bates where all the nice big houses are, where all the like really, well-to-do white people are. And then there's my side of Bates. We got this little pinky finger of Holly Hills that's just like normal people and small houses and everything. So we don't get the cops, which is fine. I would have voted against it anyway. But yeah, so now a lot of the neighborhoods are like, well, our cops suck. So now we need to hire cops to walk around off duty. And like, you guys understand that this is a fucking self-licking ice cream cone here, right? Like if you're hiring the cops to do the job that we're already paying fucking taxes for, we're all just like, we're all wasting money and they're not going to do anything. Like they're not, the last time I saw cops around in the city, like on this off-duty thing, they were just like, they were driving around in golf carts and I was trying to flag one down because a car accident had just happened. Like nothing serious, but I was just like, hey, there's a fender bender back there. They fucking completely ignored me. So like, cool. Like I'm really glad that everybody's paying money for these people who are already not good at their jobs. And I understand our population in St. Louis City is 300,000 people. I'm more concerned about getting trash truck drivers, which is also a big problem right now. But like, we have this thing, you got to live in the city to protect the city. And I get it. And I understand that there's, difficulties and problems and everything. But like, man, St. Louis City cops have always just been so terrible. And once again, most dangerous city in the United States, thumbs up for us and our, shooting the fuck out of each other constantly. So it's really defeating to live in St. Louis City, but at least like my catalytic converter hasn't been stolen yet. So that's a big thing. Getting your catalytic
that
converter
happened to
stolen
Milo
up.
a bunch of times, and he had to get like some kind of security belt installed on his car because there's a scam stealing catalytic converters because of like the whatever precious metals. I think it's platinum that's in them. Yeah, man. I mean, I don't have a car, so it doesn't really matter. But I don't think I'd get my catalytic converter stolen in Bedford. So, but I would. I mean, that's the thing. You see all these articles online about
but the meth trailer would blow up next to you.
Yeah, I mean, there's that, or Bedford used to have auto parts factories, and I think it used to have more industry around the limestone quarrying industry. There's still some, but it's just not as much as it used to be. And like, bro, it's pretty like heroin Indiana. You know what I mean? Like, it's a pretty not well off place, and like I don't fault people for that. Like the economy got sold out because they decided they just pay people like slaves in other countries to do the same work, and politicians from both parties would clap their hands like seals for it. So that's what happened. That used to be an economically thriving place, and it's not anymore. But I certainly like when I see some of this bullshit sometimes about like, oh, if you just live with your parents for a while, you can save up money and buy a house. I would lose my fucking mind. Like, there's just no way. There's just no way I'm going to live in Southern Indiana. Like, I wouldn't live in Indiana at all. If I had to live in the Midwest, honestly, if I live in the Midwest, I'd live in Chicago, or I'd take my chances with Louisville before I fucking move back to Indiana. And Kentucky's a way more insane state than Indiana in terms of its policy, who it elects. But I would take my chances in Louisville versus anywhere in the goddamn state of Indiana.
I would go, if I had to go anywhere else, it would be either Memphis or Kansas City. One or the other. I love Memphis. What's that?
I said Memphis is an interesting choice. I mean, like, I haven't spent much time there.
Dude, Memphis, here's the thing. Memphis is St. Louis without the racism. Like, it's a small...
Bro, what the fuck are you talking about? Memphis is one of the most segregated cities in America. Like,
bro, come to St. Louis.
I've been to St. Louis.
Oh man, it's so bad here. Like the redlining.
I know. I mean, you have the area around Washington University looks like the blocks after blocks of mansions in fucking Newport, Rhode Island, and then it's like the minute you cross Delmar Boulevard, it's like, damn, we haven't built anything in 70 years, but we've definitely burned it down a lot. Like, it's crazy. Don't get me wrong, it's crazy, but like, I think it's hard to describe how gutted out Memphis is. Like, just it's fully like it's like St. Louis in the sense of everything.
And I will say it's been a minute since I've been to Memphis, so
I haven't been to Memphis in a while, but everything that I remember seeing in Memphis was that like there's all the surrounding suburbs of Memphis, and then there's actual Memphis City, and it's fully abandoned. Like, it's like Detroit level abandoned by the state. Like,
Beale Street was fun. I remember having fun there.
Like, right, but
is that right? Is that Beale
Street is in Memphis, but
right?
like, it's just one of those things where it's like Memphis is cool, but I I'm sorry, I don't think you can call Memphis, Tennessee, St. Louis without the racism. Like, I'm sorry.
All
I'm
right.
sorry. Tennessee heads out there. Maybe you agree with me. Maybe you agree with Francis. Maybe one of you, exactly one of you, because statistically speaking, there couldn't be more, has lived in both St. Louis and Memphis, and you can comment on this. But
actually, I do have somebody who lives in California now who's lived in both. So I'll ask him if he thinks Memphis or St. Louis. It's been a while since he's lived in either as well, but I know he has nicer things to say about Memphis than he did St. Louis. Look, Memphis also has the Bass Pro Pyramid. So
it does,
and it's got Mud Island, which is really cool. But I would go with you. I also we were in Chicago for my daughter's birthday. We went to Chicago to take her to the American Girl doll store, and I love Chicago. I love that I could leave the hotel and go and get on a subway to take it somewhere and then walk back. Like it's Chicago, like it's always strange for me. Like Chicago is the one city that I ever go to that like has a functioning like public transportation system that isn't like maddening like St. Louis has, where it's just like we have this train that goes there and that train that goes there and everything else you can go fuck yourself. But at least, Chicago, it's like we have this train, we have the L, we have the subway, we have, they have various different things that you can.
I have friends who live there who say that the CTA is not really reliable to the point where like it's difficult. But then again,
no subway in America is good. Like let's start with that baseline
in New York,
and then
you can
continue
make it
from
work.
there.
But it's like I snapped right back into New York mode where I looked on Google Maps and it told me how long it would take to get somewhere, and I added 30 minutes to that. Because you just don't know. Like maybe you get there early, but maybe there's, like me, you show up and you just miss the train and the next train isn't for 15 minutes. And then you get held between stations and stuff like that. Like it's just, how to put it. I have fond memories of hanging out in Chicago. It feels like a real city. Chicago, Cynthia likes Chicago too. Chicago and Minneapolis are cool, and I feel like Minneapolis is just fucking colder and snows more than Chicago, which is saying something.
I was gonna say the thing that really keeps me away from Chicago is how shitty the winters are.
Yeah, well, the winter sucks, and you get like the like freezing wind, basically, where like it's so cold and it comes off the lake, and it just like forms icicles on everything. Like I remember friends of mine, because a lot of my friends from home who like wanted to have professional careers moved to Chicago. Like that was. Some people I know moved to New York. Some people I know moved to the West Coast, like to Seattle, Portland, LA, San Francisco. But most of the people that I know who left Indiana moved to Chicago, and they later either moved back to Indiana or they stayed in like suburban Illinois to some extent. It's just sort of like the magnet for the region, I think. And I remember a couple of their really particularly bad winters, Chiberia stuff. They would post photos of just like all along the lakefront, just cars, just fully like blocks of ice, just fully like the only way you're getting in that car is with a blowtorch level of problems. And it's just like, yeah, I don't really think I want to put up with that.
Supposedly we're supposed to have a really harsh winter this year. So I'm hoping my pod shack doesn't turn into a block of ice.
Do you have the heater, air conditioning in there?
Yeah, that's what I was asking you before we started recording, because my space heater's on. So I have a portable air conditioner, and really this thing gets a lot of sun. So like in the afternoon it warms up. We'll see how well that does during the winter. But like right now I'm fairly comfortable. It's a big space. But yeah, I've got a portable air conditioner. I've got a big space heater. They do what needs to be done to keep this place not feeling like shit, I guess. I guess this is the first like recording I've done with you while I've been in here. But yeah, it's a great little space. And it's perfect too, because somebody was like, it's like, oh, it's kind of like a man cave. I'm like, yes, but there's only room for one person. Like if I brought another person in here, it'd be awkward and we'd be too close to each other. But for just one person, a man cave, like, but it's small and cozy and you can't come.
I mean,
you could come, Nate, if you were here. We'll hang out.
Yeah, hang out in the pod shack.
It's not a place where you're like, hey, call your buddies. Let's all hang out in the shed in the back. There's like one chair.
We have the studio, but it's about 5.5 miles away by bike. So that takes me about a little under an hour on public transit, or about 30 minutes on my bike. So that's fine. I mean, like if it's really nice, like not bad traffic, or I get lucky with the lights, it's like 25 minutes to get there. So it's fine. It's a good workout. Like I have a bike with an electric assist motor. So if I want to ride it just like a mountain bike, I can with just me pedaling. And if I want to get a little bit of a push from a dead stop, that helps, because like it cuts out the motor after I think 15 miles an hour, but getting up to 15 miles an hour, you can pick like 3 separate levels of assistance. And Jesus Christ, the high speed, the high powered one is the bike basically does the riding for you. And so, you like if I'm feeling like shit, like just dog shit, and I still need to get work done, I just dress warmly and put it on high power and just more or less coast my way in. Like, so it rules. It actually kind of, I went through a phase where I thought that maybe it would be like cheating and I should just ride my regular bike. But then I realized I was making my life way too hard. Because sometimes you feel good and you want a good workout, but other days, like when you're faced with the choice of just fully sucking or not doing it, you just weird how you opt for not doing it. And so I have just opted to use this. And then like if I do want to work out, like especially if weather is good, because my old bike had like real narrow road bike tires. My thought is like, well, if I do need if I want like an actual harder bike workout, I just ride my single speed. But otherwise, I ride this bike in, and it's sick, honestly. So like the studio's now just become more accessible, and it's like my equivalent of the pod check. I mean, I share it with 3 other people, but we have that space up there in Hackney. So like we have a room that we've soundproofed, and we have like editing bays, and we've got like a kitchen with a fridge and a microwave, and kettle, coffee maker, and stuff. One of the editing bays we've got set up with like monitor speakers, so I can edit without having to listen to headphones, and like it's cool. Honestly, it's worked out really well.
I'll tell you what I got for that. I haven't gotten a chance to use it, but I got one of those all-in-one breakfast machines. Have you seen those?
No.
Where it's like, so it's this thing. I'll take a picture of it. It's a machine. It's got a toaster oven on it. It's got a coffee pot built into it, and then it's got like a little griddle on top.
Okay.
So it's this whole thing you can make. You can cook stuff on top. You can make toast, and then a little pot of coffee. And I've wanted one of these things forever, but they're like $50 new, and there's no way I could ever justify spending $50 on a thing that I might use once as a novelty. However, I found one at like Savers, which is like Goodwill. It's a secondhand store. I found one for like $13, so I had to get that for the pod shack. I haven't hooked it up yet. I need to clean it off first and everything. But that's going to be the extent of my kitchenette is this thing that I put up on, because like this is a shed. Like I don't even have a bathroom in here, so I do have to like go inside for a lot of things. But at least like the house is right there, so it's not too difficult. I am going to have to, if it snows a lot, I am going to have to shovel my way out to the pod shack. But beyond that, it's a nice little spot.
Yeah, when I was staying with my friend Jasper, who's been on the show a couple of times, he was dropping stuff off at Goodwill, and while he was looking around, I think that was how he said he got it. He saw one of those Breville all-in-one coffee makers that has the grinder built in. Ooh. And so you can set a timer and you fill up the tank. He might have bought it off Facebook Marketplace, or I thought he said he got it at Goodwill, but I might be misremembering. But basically he cleaned it up, like they had never cleaned the inside of it, besides like you clean out the grounds every time, sure, but they hadn't done like the stuff to clean out the sort of build up from all the grounds and shit. And so once he got it working again, it's actually really amazing. I mean, like, in general, something that I appreciated being back was I'd forgotten how good drip coffee is. Like, it's just different. You just drink a lot of fucking drip coffee. It's different than having espresso-based drinks, And I like espresso-based drinks, don't get me wrong, but that, you make like a pot of coffee and you just drinking fucking cups of coffee. Like, I'd just forgotten all that.
I did officially switch over to hot coffee today since it was so cold this morning, and I got my French press out, so I was very excited about that. Right
on, yeah. I Cynthia has decaf espresso that I make espresso for her in a machine. And then she's also got like a Nespresso machine. Like if I'm not going to use the big machine, then she'll just do that for herself. But yeah, I have a pour, like a very manual pour over filter setup that I think I've had since I was like in Korea. And I just forgotten drip coffee's great, Having it at my parents' place.
There's something about just putting hot water through some ground up beans.
Yeah, man. Well, also imagine that though with Jasper's machine. Like you can get up in the morning, especially you could either preset it the night before as an alarm clock, or just get up and just dump the water in real fast and press it, and it gives you a timer. It's just like, okay, in 9 minutes your pot of coffee is ready, and you can just like go use the bathroom, take a shower or whatever, and then step out, and you've got like it's fully ground it fresh for you, and just managed to dump all those grounds in and make you a pot of coffee. And it used a copper wire filter, you know, like so like a little copper basket with like a fine mesh. So like it doesn't even generate any like paper waste. You just have coffee grounds to throw out. Genuinely.
Need something
it was
like
okay.
that.
It was like they were like $300 new, but he managed to find it like way discounted because these people had bought one and then like they'd never done like the requisite maintenance, and so it wasn't working very well. So they were selling it. I think they got it for like $100, which is still a lot of money, but like compared to $300 is cheap. The one thing I will say if you get one is it takes up a lot of fucking space. Like it's genuinely like a pretty big machine. Like it's this, I would genuinely say it's about as big, if not bigger than I've got like a compact single boiler espresso maker, and it's about that big, if not bigger, actually.
What's it called?
Breville is the brand. I can't remember what it's called, but it's like an all-in-one coffee grinder coffee maker.
There's a lot of Breville all-in-one kind of things. I'll have to dig around.
Yeah, if I can find it, like I'll look it up for you. But yeah, man, it's friends of the show, listeners, if you have experience with Breville's all-in-one coffee maker.
Oh, here we go. Holy shit!
Yeah, it's fucking sick, like isn't it?
$300.
But it's like $300. Yeah, it's $300 new.
And this one I'm looking at has an espresso maker built into it.
Wild. I mean, if you want espresso, that is a thing too. I mean, like obviously espresso is more the standard in Europe, and so even in Britain, when you go to coffee shops, that's typically what you get. I haven't seen a thing where they've got like a built-in grinder going straight to the machine, but like normally what you see is they have like a grinder with like a caddy to put the espresso portafilter in, and then that's like standing by, and basically you order a coffee and they just push the button, it dispenses the amount, they tamp it in and put it in the machine and make coffee. That's how I make coffee at home normally, but drip filter coffee had me acting unwise. Also, the thing I was going to leave you with too is friends of the show may notice this, but like when I was back in New York, I probably did something social every single day that I was there. There was not a single day that I wasn't like going out and meeting people or doing something. I went running in New York once. I would have preferred to do it more, but I was just walking so much that I guess it didn't matter. Some days, especially my last couple of days, I crammed like 3 or 4 different social engagements in one day. Normally that would make me want to lock myself in a dark basement. Like I would fully melt down. Like I think the anxiety and stress would build up. But something's different, man. Something's really different. I don't know what it is. But like, not only did I not feel that way, it actually made me feel less scatterbrained. It made me want to just like task organize so that I didn't waste time. Like, it's crazy. I would just get up and be like, all right, fuck it. Make coffee, take a shower, edit podcast, get it done so you can go out because you want to meet someone at 1 or 2, go, and then meet the next person, then meet the next person. And like that energy, I've kind of carried that onward since I've gotten back. It's so weird. And I don't know if it's just like post-COVID, going out and just having like nonstop good experience, like seeing friends, like basically no bad vibes the whole time I was there. I don't know if it was but
it takes you out of your rut that you're in. Like, even if it's not really a rut, like you're in a, like in England, I get up, I do this, I do that. I can, plan out my week. You come to America though, it's all kind of up in the air, and you get to do what you want rather than what you have to do.
Right. Well, I think that's the thing, is that I still had work to do, but it was just a big change of pace, and I wasn't going to be able to do the social things I wanted to do unless I also got the work done. So there wasn't really I didn't really have a choice to just, sit around and be like, oh, how am I going to get this, how am I going to stop procrastinating? It was either do it or miss out on the stuff you want to do. So since I've gotten back, I don't know, like, I guess I tell you that because I think that even though I was by all standards pretty productive, in these past couple of years in terms of like my throughput, like what I was expected to do, and starting new shows, taking on new projects, stuff like that, I still wasted a lot of fucking time. I still had a hard time not procrastinating, not being scatterbrained. And like, yeah, I do a lot of work, but also like, bear in mind, we don't have kids. So like, all I have to do is what I have to do, like to be a good husband, and then for me. You know what I mean? It's a very different thing. And Yeah, something changed, man. Something changed. I mean, I hope it's permanent too, because like, I don't know. I went running today, and like normally I wouldn't pack stuff so close. I've got some errands I want to run tonight before this Trash Future live show, and like normally I wouldn't pack this much stuff, or I would feel stressed out doing it. I don't now. I'm just like, no, move on to the next thing, get it done. Yeah. It's the weirdest thing, dude. Like,
you're kind of falling back into your military training.
I haven't felt this not fucked up in my brain since before I deployed. I genuinely don't know what's going on. Like, your guess is as good as mine. Listeners, maybe you've had a similar experience. Maybe something has fully shaken you out of a rut or a pattern of behavior, and all of a sudden you're like, damn, I'm like operating on fucking, I'm just gliding between gears as needed. But
please tell us what's wrong with Nate so we can put him back to his normal depressed self.
Yeah, my wife was like, who is this alien that has abducted my husband? So in a good way. Please fix Nate so he's sad. He's a small sad boy. It's like he moved to England to be sad and depressed. What the fuck is going on?
Well, you came back to America and all of a sudden there's sunlight again.
Yeah, that is true.
Your vitamin D.
And I'm going to Australia in November, so it's almost summer when I'm down there. Yeah. God, I'm going to be so annoying. It's going to be amazing. All right. Well,
you're going to be annoying in England or in Australia.
No, I'm going to come back so positive, and Cynthia, who's going to be living through the part of the year when it's dark before 4 p.m., is going to be like, "What the fuck? Fuck you! Do not smile. Don't have a tan. Go sit in the corner." Yeah, she's not actually going to do that, but she's going to be mad.
This is why my wife and I generally go to Florida at least once during the winter, because fuck all this noise.
Right. Well,
fuck all this cold.
Yeah, I mean that's hopefully the plan. Once we get onto the next place we're going, hopefully we can make it a habit to go to like Portugal in winter or something like that. So we'll see. But we're coming up on.
You can start doing the real British thing and start summering in Spain and Portugal. Come back.
The British are more fans of Spain than Portugal, but yeah, Roger, they love a good Iberian vacation, or the Balearic Islands, Ibiza, Magaluf, that stuff. Or the Canary Islands off the coast of Africa. They love a good Spanish territory. They don't really like Western Sahara that much, but everywhere else they like. I guess Western Sahara is Moroccan now too. It was Spanish at one point. Yeah, they're big fans of getting so red they're purple, developing skin cancer, yelling at Spanish waiters to bring them a full English. That's kind of their thing. But I guess I can't complain too much because Americans go to Cancun and are worse. So, Francis, once again, it's wonderful speaking with you. I'm sorry it's been so long.
It is what it is, Nate, and I enjoy these times with you to catch up and just bullshit about things that don't matter.
Right. And so listeners, just FYI, we are still going to be doing Hell of a Way. We are going to continue to do the podcast. We are probably going to transition away from doing as much military-related stuff unless it seems directly relevant to this show. And Francis obviously does a lot of interviews with military and defense journalists, so that, kind of scratches that itch. But I think we might just kind of vibe on dad chatting, because it's a thing that feels like it makes sense at the point we're at in our lives right now. You're retired and I've been out of the military longer than I was in.
Right. And like you said, I still talk to the defense, I still talk to reporters. I still, I'm going to be talking to a task and purpose reporter tomorrow, and putting something out with them. So, there will always still be military stuff. It might just be me talking to somebody rather than me and Nate, or maybe or our Zoo Crew stuff. I oftentimes just gather a bunch of small stories and make Joe and Carrie talk about them. So that's all on the bonus stuff too. So please, if you're ever just like, God damn, I wish I could listen to more people talking about inane shit, we have a Patreon that has all kinds of bonus episodes on it. Almost nearly 8 years. 8 years now, Nate. This thing has been going.
Oh, no, not 8 years. No. We
only 7?
6. You started at the end of 2016.
Did I?
Yeah.
God. I'm sorry. 6 years.
6 years.
6 years.
You started at the end of 2016, and we started the Patreon in January 2017. I remember that.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, but still, years and years of bonus content.
Lots of bonus content.
All kinds of good stuff. So, and I think we're going to start for the Zoo Crew. I'm going to start making Joe and Carrie watch Deadwood with me. So we can call each other cocksuckers.
Yeah, I've only seen. I seem to recall walking in while a friend was watching Deadwood when we lived in a townhouse in Bloomington, Indiana, with me and 4 roommates. It sucked, and there was some sort of scene where a guy had kidney stones or something, and I remember like
Yes.
like one of the like the sex worker frontier women having to like jack this guy off until his kidney stones passed, and I was just like,
they were sounding him, but yes, kind of they had to stick something. The doctor had to like stick something up his dick hole and like rattle it loose so that he could piss it out.
right. I remember that happening and being like, wow, that looks like it sucked. I think the Old West sucked dick. I'm glad I didn't live through that.
And that's the point of the entire
Deadwood.
thing.
There it is. All right, series complete. You do not even need to listen, but you should listen to the bonus content from Francis. And otherwise, we will speak to you on the bonus episode, which should have another 33rd County coming out soon. And I should also have, obviously, the Zoo Cruise. And Cynthia and I are planning a cop watch before I go to Australia, so that should be coming out very soon. So if any of that sounds interesting, it's $5 a month for all the bonus content dating all the way back to January 2017. Can be yours.
And for $10 a month, you get all of that. Plus, every couple of months, I send out a care package. Recently, a bunch of stickers, a magnet, and some Global War on Terror ribbons for all of you who, you know, I know physically maybe you didn't join the military in support and in support of the Global War on Terror, but you know, spiritually, I know that you were all behind me. So I sent out some valor to everybody, all of our $10 patrons. That also comes with it. You get a little bit of valor that you don't have to steal. You just have it, and you could, you know, park in the veterans only parking spot at the weed store if you want. If your weed store is cool enough to have that, mine are.
Well, it's a perfect fucking Ouroboros of America is the economy being driven by the weed store. His primary patrons are veterans who need weed for medical reasons because being in the military fucked them up. So you know what?
Yeah, medical reasons. That's what I tell the
let
doctor
the
too.
circle be unbroken. But until next time, Francis, it's a pleasure speaking with you, and I'll talk to you soon.
Talk to you next week, guys.